Okay. Welcome into part 2 of episode 18 of Red Zone Talk. I'm Owen Burke. He's Tim Hunt. We love talking about football, and we're going to keep doing it. So, we got some more headlines. So many headlines from a 2-week period that we've just got to keep talking about them.
Yeah. We're not doing much else besides talking headlines. It's that time of the year where, by next episode, no, not next episode. I was like, the episode after that, you'll be getting our playoff predictions, and it's wrapping up quickly. It feels like it started yesterday, and here we are, and the season's almost over. It's kind of wild how that works.
Yeah.
Yeah, weird. Let's talk about the interesting outcome of the Lions becoming the number 1 seed in the NFC.
Dude.
Now, when I have you seen it? Do you know what it is?
Mm-mm.
A lot wilder than you think. Not as wild as you probably think, actually. So the Detroit Lions need to win out. So that would mean that they have to be. Sorry, I'm pulling it up now. Computer's being slow. They have to be the Cowboys and the Vikings. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then the only other thing that needs to happen.
They need the Niners to lose a game?
They need the Niners to lose a game. That's it.
They
hold the tiebreaker against Philly. So they get in over Philly if they have the tied record as the first seed. So they need the Niners to either lose to the Commanders or the Rams. And honestly, when the Niners play the Rams might be playing for their playoff spot, right?
Yeah,
so
they're going to probably get the best Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay have.
Yeah, so it's a really interesting outcome. How does that move the needle for you if Detroit was the 1 seed?
I think it would be so sick. Like, I'm happy enough just seeing a home football field or a home game at Ford Field for the Lions this postseason is going to be probably one of the most electric things you think. If it's not, it should be the loudest stadium come, that time when they're playing that home game, whether it's in the divisional round or the wild card round. Like, to me, I think the loudest crowd I think I've ever heard in my life is like Kevin Herter hitting a 3 for the Kings when they're like, when the light the beam thing was active and everything. Like, that's how they should be. And if it's in the divisional round when they play that first home game, man, and they get to sit out and just watch football for a week, it'd be the first time in probably their franchise's history where the Detroit Lions will not be playing football and their fans are still happy, right? Because usually the bye week, you can't lose on a bye week. We're cool. We're here.
Yeah.
Other than that, that's the only time they've ever experienced that, where they've had a bye week and they're like, we're fucking number 1 seed in the playoffs. We're playing next week. As a football fan, I love it. I think it would be sick, especially if they could win the division round. You imagine that? Like, here we are, folks. NFC title game. The Niners on the road in Detroit for a chance to the Super Bowl. Like,
it's
awesome.
It's wild to say because, I mean, and we're going to talk about we could just merge this into one topic, but it's all kind of going to be one topic. But it's the most open that I think I can remember the NFC being. Right? Last year it was, okay, is it going to be the Eagles? Is it going to be the 49ers? Can the Eagles win on the road in San Francisco? I mean, after seeing what we saw last week out of Brock Purdy, man, they feel super beatable. Like, that might be the most beatable we've ever seen that team.
Yeah.
And Philly's been riding the wave, right? Last year, Jalen Hurts looked unstoppable. And this year he looks beatable, right? He has got to do some self-reflecting on, hey, what is it going to take for us to get better? Because if there was ever a quarterback who had very little to no excuses, it'd be him, right? Him and Brock Purdy are kind of in the same boat where solid offensive lines, about every offensive weapon you could possibly hope for. And they both look very beatable this year. And
go ahead.
No, you're good.
Like, Jalen, I think, gets a bit more of a pass to me, truthfully, than Brock Purdy does because Jalen lost his offensive coordinator this last year, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not a huge fan of Nick Sirianni. Say what you want about the off the field antics, this, that, and the other, whatever it is. You, even with them looking beatable and the rough stretch they've had in the last 4 weeks, massive props should still go to Sirianni for getting this team to where they are while having to fill both of his coordinator spots in the offseason. It's not something you see super often. The fact that more national news outlets are talking about it to me is insane because I think it's extremely impressive what they've been able to accomplish with the turnover they've had in the coaching staff. As far as Purdy and that Monday night game in Baltimore, against Baltimore in Santa Clara, I think there's been two crowds, and I think both have been wrong. A lot of people are like, your box stat Warriors, right? Oh, 4 picks. Purdy's cooked. He's horrible. The Niners have no chance of making the Super Bowl because he turned, those guys. 3 of the 4 picks were not inherently his fault, right? Tipped passes, whether it's by the defense, by the offense. His arm gets hit as he throws, whatever. But there's also the other crowd, the other coin that I've seen is people are like, those are just unlucky throws, right? Purdy can't be held accountable for those things, right? It's just unlucky. To me, that takes credit away from what Baltimore did, which was, if I'm the Niners, I'm not panicking in a sense of like, oh my God, we're going to lose. We have this fatal Achilles heel now. But Mike McDonald kind of laid a blueprint out for anybody to beat that team because I don't know if I've ever seen a better defensive game plan than what I saw on Monday night. Our defense suffocated them from the word go. Everyone bought in. Marlon Humphrey is taking kickout blocks from a right tackle on pitch plays to let Roquan and Patrick Queen spill CMC in the backfield or at the line of scrimmage. They had San Francisco figured out from play one. That's where I'm most worried about if I'm San Fran is like, this is how you beat the Niners. Do exactly what Baltimore did with the disguises and everything that they did, and you have a solid chance no matter how talented they are. The other thing that doesn't bode well for Brock Purdy is how well Sam Darnold looked when he came into that game.
Yeah.
Now, granted, he only threw it to Brandon Ayuk, and like 3 of the 4 catches were slant routes, but like he had that offense hum down the field in about 6 plays on his first drive in, and you're like, what the fuck's going on here? Like, I had a small moment of panic there at the end. But, yeah.
It's because Kyle's a big listener of the show.
Truly.
He knows that I've been in his ear talking about Sam Darnold, and he needs to put him in. And I said, listen, Purdy went on that slide, and that's when you should have played him. And he didn't listen, and now Purdy's, not looking as good in big games. And he goes, I should have listened to Tim. I should have put a Darnold in. And I don't know. They're in such an interesting spot, San Francisco is, because it feels like, and this is going to sound bad that I'm almost talking poorly of Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan almost limits his capabilities of his quarterback, right? And that sounds super weird to say, but like,
I see what you're saying though.
He elevates them to a certain level and then caps them at another level, right?
There's a ceiling.
Like, as everyone's like always like, oh, I'd love to see, Patrick Mahomes have like a Kyle Shanahan. I don't think Kyle Shanahan would do well with a Patrick Mahomes, right? Somebody who's able to improvise and make throws and do these wild things, a Josh Allen, right? I'm not saying Patrick can't play within inside of a structure. I just don't know how well Kyle Shanahan's offense works at all outside of any structure, right?
You're taking away what Patty does best at that point, right? Like you're limiting because you don't have a lot of plays that are going to break down where he's going to need to do that, right? So it goes hand in hand there. I see what you're saying.
So you look at a guy like Brock Purdy and it's like, would Brock Purdy realistically be a starter for any other team at this point? I don't know if I have to say any other team, obviously he would be. But like I'm saying, a championship level team. If we look at the teams in the playoffs in the NFC, would you take Hurts or Purdy?
Hurts.
Would you take Purdy or Goff?
Goff.
Okay. I think this one's close. Would you take Baker or would you take Purdy?
That one is closer.
I think I would take Purdy just because of like the upside that's still maybe potentially there.
Truthfully, I think I'd take Purdy because of the floor. Like,
Yeah.
I think
He's
I feel a little bit
consistent.
safer, right? I'm
Yeah.
not going to have the bust percentage that I would have with Baker.
There. Yeah, that's fair.
That was close.
Would you take Dak or Purdy? This isn't even close.
Dak, yeah.
Dak is like Purdy is a B- quarterback. Dak is the exact same quarterback that Purdy is, but at a B+, A- level, right?
Yeah.
Like he is everything you want Purdy to be. Like all the skill set that Purdy has, but just a better version of it.
Yep.
So I'm taking Dak all day. And not considering age, Matthew Stafford.
The way Stafford's playing right now, it's Stafford pretty handedly.
Yeah,
Like,
when Stafford's
a
healthy, and
playoff run, Matthew Stafford
yeah. Let's look at it that way. A playoff
for 4
run,
games.
a healthy Matthew Stafford and a healthy Cooper Kupp. I'm taking them right over
Yep.
Purdy.
Yep.
And that's just Purdy. I'm not saying all these teams are going to come out and beat San Francisco, but I'm more referring to Purdy himself. Seattle's a little bit more interesting, right? Like Seattle, I don't know how to feel. Like, I mean, I don't even know who you list. Do you list Drew Lock or do you list Geno? I don't think it really matters because I'm probably taking Purdy over both of them.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
So I'm not really sure that changes my answer. I don't even remember who played against Tennessee. I didn't watch that game.
I think Drew Lock did.
Geno played.
Oh, Geno played. Yeah, Drew Lock had the game before. Yeah.
Oh, Tannehill's playing again for Tennessee, huh?
Yeah, Will Levis is banged up and Malik Willis is not good. So
Malik Willis is just not good.
Malik Willis will probably land in either Baltimore or New England in the offseason, I think. Because I think he's probably going to get cut, and you know which 2 teams like mobile quarterbacks the most.
Yeah. It's so interesting to me. That draft class is going to go. I think it's going to go down as one of maybe the worst quarterback classes of all time.
Which one?
The 2020? Yeah, the 2020.
Oh yeah,
because it was
Lawrence.
Pickett.
Or
No,
that one.
Oh, was that 21? 21. You're right.
21. Yeah.
So yeah, Pickett. Who were we just talking about?
Malik Willis.
Malik Willis, and then Matt Corral was in that class.
Yeah, Matt Corral and
there's one other guy.
Sam Howell, right? Is it Sam Howell?
Was it Sam Howell?
I think so.
Hmm.
Sam Howell might save that class by himself.
And he wasn't even. Was he a day 2 pick or was he a day 3 pick?
Yeah, Kenny Pickett was the only guy that was a first rounder. I know that.
Yeah,
he was the only guy that was a day 1. Okay, no. So 21 was Lawrence.
Okay,
I think it was 22.
22? Damn. Huh. That doesn't feel right. Oh, I guess it does. Yeah.
22 is Pickett at 20. Trying to quick look here. Pull the quarterbacks up.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Desmond Ridder was a 3rd rounder. Malik Willis was a 3rd rounder. Matt Corral was in the 3rd round. Zappy was in the 4th. That's the guy who saves
Let's
it,
get
actually.
Zappy. Yeah, that's the guy who saves it.
Yeah, Sam Howell, 5th round pick that year.
Yeah, okay. Right? Like that, like it's gonna go down as like, what was it, the Christian Ponder, Jake Locker year? The only issue is no one else was taken in the 1st.
Yeah.
Because
also
I think Ponder was in the 1st.
Oh, Tim, we are horrible football fans, buddy, because guess who was picked 274 in that class? That was Brock Effin Purdy himself was the 21.
Oh, yeah, he was Mr.
class.
Irrelevant.
That's crazy, actually, that we were walking out of that class, and there is a chance. Now, Sam Howell, I think, is going to be the one that takes the crown, but like the chance that the last quarterback and the last person drafted in that class is the best quarterback that comes out.
That class.
Nuts. Yeah. I think Howell takes it probably from what I've seen this year. Depends on how long Purdy keeps the job in San Fran, because whether he's that talented or not, you stay in that system for 10 years, people are probably going to look at you pretty highly.
Well, and it's also interesting, like that conversation can be flipped and say, well, it depends on how long Sam Howell keeps the job in Washington too.
Yeah, true. That is honestly, I think, going to be a very attractive job come the offseason. Like, and the thing is it may not present itself that way because they may just give Bieniemy the job. Like, I think they may look at Bieniemy's like, hey, this guy just got here, and all of a sudden Sam Howell, our 5th round pick from 2 years ago, is 3rd in the league in passing yards. Maybe we keep this guy around.
So if you want to talk about a guy who's earned more respect this year on a 3-win team, there isn't anyone besides Eric Bieniemy, right? Because the Commanders' offense looks competent.
Yeah.
The Chiefs look like they're struggling, right? Like the Chiefs' weapons maybe are a little bit worse than last year, right? Like you lose Juju and
Juju played really well last year. Yeah.
Yeah. So you lose Juju, but like they're significantly worse than they were last year. And then you lose Bieniemy, and you're gonna sit here and sit like I think Bieniemy is a bigger part of that than losing Juju is. So I think it's that guy has earned his right to at least be in the conversation.
Yeah, like truthfully, if I'm Washington, the only guy that I would outright hire over Bieniemy would be Ben Johnson, probably.
Pistons Celtics heading to overtime, baby.
Oh God! If you're watching the stinker, folks, 27 in a row, trying to avoid 28. Boston trying not to lose their first game at home.
Crazy.
Electric stuff going on.
But yeah, I think Bieniemy is going to be a coach, but I feel so bad for Sam Howell because he's played well enough, but at the same time, they're going to have a top 5 pick this year, pretty much.
This to me is the team. To me, I think they should go tackle. I think their offensive line has enough concerns where that's where I would go with this pick. Now,
do you think they trade down, if anything?
maybe, depending on if they land top 3, yeah, probably. Because I think those top 3 are probably going to end up being quarterbacks. I know no one thinks it's going to happen, but it's always how it is. Goff and Wentz were both reaches at 1 and 2. They both haven't had great careers, but when it happened,
I don't think Goff or Wentz was really considered a reach, but
to me, it always felt like that to me. Like I felt like the thing is, we get to combine offseason pro days, and it goes from like, yeah, 2 quarterbacks in the top 10 to being like, yeah, that's pick 1 and 2, and we traded 3 first rounders to get up to 2 to get the second guy.
See,
like,
I mean, to compare that to this upcoming draft class, I think is slightly unfair.
Yeah, because we have some deadlocks out there.
Because Caleb Williams is that like the best prospect I would argue we've seen since Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying he's better than Trevor Lawrence, but I think like when I think of guys that are on that level, it's like Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck, Trevor Lawrence, and then I would
have to go back to like Elway or Marino at that point.
Yeah, beyond that, like I think I don't know if I'm ready to put Caleb necessarily like all the way in that class, but like I mean, he would have been a first round pick the first year after Oklahoma, right?
If he would have had a good year at USC this year, I think he cements himself into that.
Yeah.
Where he is like, it is Andrew Luck, Trevor Lawrence, Caleb Williams. And you feel comfortable with that sentence. But what we've seen, and it's not anything, I'm not sitting here saying he's going to be a bad prospect.
He didn't play bad even. Like, that's the crazy part. Like, you want me to read you his stats?
Yeah.
He threw for 3,633 yards, 30 touchdowns, 5 interceptions.
That's actually a lot better than you'd think. From what I have, the image in my head is a lot worse than that.
And honestly, you could probably if his defense could stop like a runny nose, like you could probably eliminate 2 or 3 of those interceptions.
Yeah, if his offensive line could keep a 4-man rush out of his face for more than 3 seconds, he probably would have been a lot better too.
And then to be honest with you, so if we could have taken, if we went back to last year, if Drake May could have came out last year or Caleb Williams, both of those guys would have been the first overall pick.
Yeah, I would agree.
Right. So we have 2 guys that are clearly first overall picks. I think Jaden Daniels is going to after winning the Heisman, I think he creeps his way into the top 10. I'd just be shocked if he doesn't.
Who do you take first, Penix or Daniels?
I think I would take Daniels first.
I think I'm more of a believer in Penix. It's just a gut feeling thing.
I like Penix. I mean, Penix might fall out of the first round, to be honest with you.
I'm very excited for we're getting to that time of the year. That's the beautiful thing about football. We're so excited about all these playoff scenarios and the games that are about to happen. And then the second it wraps up, we're like, all right, who's going first? Let's get to the pro days. I'm trying to see the numbers.
Yeah, like I would sit here and tell you, like, I think Jaden Daniels is a better athlete. Like at the end of the day, like
I would agree.
Jaden Daniels, I hate comparing like him to Lamar. He is somewhere like the way I'm going to describe, like if Lamar is here on the athletic scale, which is like super ultra athletic, and Justin Fields is still really, really, really athletic, like Jaden Daniels is somewhere in that spectrum
in the middle there.
I think he's a better athlete than Fields. He's closer to the Lamar than he is to Justin, but he's still in between the two of them.
This might sound nuts. I truthfully think, and maybe this is me just being too much of a Justin Fields believer, I think Fields might have the better arm of the 3 of those guys there. I think just
I think that's right. I
a
think that's
super
fair.
underrated cannon.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
the thing with Daniels that I think it's going to come down to, and I'll always be skeptical of this part because outside of my team and Lamar Jackson, no one else has done it. Is the team that drafts him gonna be willing to go out on the limb and completely change how they play offense to make him succeed? Because I don't think Chicago's done Justin Fields any favors, right? We went from Joe Flacco to Lamar Jackson. This offense is not the same from what it was. They were like, all right, we are going to make this work. We know how talented this kid is. We're going to completely overhaul how we play offense. I'm not going to hand you Tom Brady's playbook and throw in a couple QB powers and call it good, right? You know,
If okay, I'm gonna give you my way too early hot take of 2024. We always like to do our wild, super early season predictions, right?
mm-hmm.
We've done them for what 2 years now.
Yeah.
Justin Fields will be an MVP candidate next year. Is on my short list that I'm considering for next year's episode already. If he lands in Atlanta, a team that just they
That's the
need
first team.
Like if he just needs a team that says, "Hey, we've got weapons. We're going to support you. We're going to build this offense around you." Like if he just gets in the right, like I don't think he's bad, right? Like I truly don't. But I think he needs to get out of Chicago because Chicago, like you said, have done him zero favors at this
Chicago's
point.
never done any of their quarterbacks any favors. We're talking about one of the oldest teams in the NFL. They still have never had a passer throw for more than 4,000 yards in a season. That is asinine stuff. C.J. Stroud is about to do that in his rookie year for the Texans, who were founded in like 1999. The Bears have been around since like the 60s and have not had a guy throw. I'm honestly kind of surprised Jay Cutler never popped for over 4K once,
nuts.
where he gets like 4,012 yards, something nuts. But yeah, I don't know. I'm very excited to get to that part of the year because that quarterback conversation is going to heat up really fast, and I'm very excited for it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. And I just think, and the problem is the Bears need to reset, right? Like they are not on a Justin Fields timeline at the moment.
Nope.
They've got to look at it and say, okay, we are not good enough to go out and try to compete clearly. Like we've shown that. So we've got to get like Justin Fields has value. I think he's shown enough this year. Like somebody will give a second for him. Like
I'd give
I
a
would.
second for him. I would
like
too.
if the Patriots were like, hey, we're going to take Marvin Harrison Jr. and we're going to send a second to Justin Fields, I'd be like,
and then get a third or a fourth for Mac back.
Yeah.
Ship it.
Shit. If we get a 6 back for Mac, I'm like,
fuck cool. Yeah. If we get a 6th for Mac and a 5th for Bailey Zappi.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't care. Send them both somewhere. Package deal. Like,
Package deal. Send both quarterbacks. They're going out to back Baker up in Tampa.
Like, and that's weird to say as a team that's probably going to have a top 5 pick, but if they're going, okay, we can't get Drake and we can't get Caleb, we'll get Justin.
I agree. I wholeheartedly
I'm not upset
agree.
about that. Yeah.
Here's my question. Say you land at pick 4, and say a tackle goes at 3, 2 quarterbacks go at 1 and 2.
Here's what this is predicting, right? Barring no trades. This is like the most reliable mock draft that I've seen. Caleb Williams at 1 to the Bears, Marvin Harrison Jr. at 2 to the Cardinals, Drake May to the Commanders at 3. And then and the Pats are at 4, and this one has them taking Jaden Daniels at 4.
So if things were to fall as such, right? Say Arizona's not in the mix up here in the top 4. Say that May and Williams go 1 and 2. Say for some god awful reason, maybe it's the Cardinals or somebody else takes a tackle at 3.
Let's say Tennessee trades up to 2, and they take May, and then it goes Jaden Daniels, and then the Patriots are at 4. So
my
the first 3
curiosity,
quarterbacks would go. Yeah.
Even I want Daniels on the board. So this is my question. And so if Daniels is off the board at 3, you're at pick 4, you draft Marvin, you trade for Justin Fields, I think it's a win. If you get to pick 4, Marvin Harrison Jr. and Jaden Daniels is on the board. Which would you rather? Would you rather draft Jaden Daniels, or would you rather get Marvin and then trade for Justin at that point?
I would. You're saying okay.
So both options are available. You have either quarterbacks, and Justin Fields comes with Marvin Harrison Jr. to boot. And you guys haven't had a playmaker like Marvin Harrison Jr. probably
forever.
since like Randy fucking Moss, honestly.
Probably
Like,
Gronk. Like Gronk is like the
yeah,
closest thing we've had, but yeah, Randy Moss. It's an interesting thought. Here's my initial opinion. The 35th pick feels expensive for Justin Fields in a weird way.
fair, very fair.
So if we could take some combination of Mac Jones and we give up our third and we get a second back, you know what I mean? Like something like
If
we
it's
give
a
a
different
third.
second round pick than
Yeah, if we
yours,
and then we could get Justin Fields and keep that second. I feel better about it. It's
fair.
still, even without that scenario, like giving up the 35th overall pick, like we're probably Justin Fields is probably better than anyone that's going to be available at 35, right?
Yeah,
I just would like 35 because if we're not going to take, I guess we would have Marvin Harrison. So
yeah. And well, I mean, I guess the other thing is like,
I'm
say you
more
hold
okay
on to
with it now.
35, draft Marvin, and then you take Penix at 35 if he falls out of the first round. Like,
I don't know if I love that. Just I just Penix scares me. He's one of those guys that he's like, I hate gambling on really talented quarterbacks who can't stay healthy. It just doesn't.
no.
To me, it never feels good where you're like, oh yeah, we're gonna invest in this guy, and like if he stays healthy, he's a freak athlete. But it's like he's not even that. I don't even want to. I don't.
He just has a cannon to me. His arm
Yeah,
is what sells Michael Penix is the
he's
arm talent.
he's a worse athlete than Justin Fields. Like,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and but he has probably a better arm, but it's close, I would say.
He's probably the worst athlete of the quarterbacks that's going to get drafted. I think all
Yeah.
four of the names that have been mentioned in the first round are probably better athletes than him, but I think he might have the second best arm behind Caleb Williams, truthfully.
This draft has the next QB going in the first is Bo Nix to Tampa Bay.
I still am not a huge fan of Bo Nix at the NFL level, especially not for a first rounder, truthfully. I'm
Yeah.
still not a believer. I
And
take a lot of stock in what I watched at Auburn, and what I watched at Auburn was not good. And then I don't like the timeline of like this guy played in the SEC for 3 to 4 years, and he was really bad against the best. I mean that is the best representation of what you're going to get at the NFL because it's the conference that
he wasn't
gets.
really bad though. Like that's the issue I have with this comp. Like he wasn't really bad. He just wasn't as good as he is
He
in
wasn't
Oregon.
great. But the optics of like, hey, you go from some of the best defensive players, the guys that always get drafted, and you struggled a little bit there, you weren't great, to we go to the conference that is known for air raid, our end scores are 56 to 49, and you do well there. I'm like, cool, you did well there. We've seen it pan at the NFL level. Justin Herbert's a
Yeah.
stud. I understand that. But, and I guess I need to go back in time, see Justin Herbert play at Georgia or Florida and see what
Well,
happens. But
no. See that's where the comparison's wrong. Like that's where you're dead wrong. Okay, how well does Justin Herbert play in the SEC with Auburn level weapons, right?
fair.
Like when you sit here and we like, okay, if you were to say, oh, he was at Alabama or Ohio State and struggled in the SEC, and then he goes to Oregon and he takes off, completely different conversation.
Fair.
But you're saying, okay, he's playing against the best defenses in college football, and he has below like
Mid-level.
mid-level weapons, and he's a good quarterback, and you're going, well, that's unacceptable. And then he goes to the ACC where the defenses become mid to low level, and then he has great weapons, and then you're going, well, I don't understand. All of a sudden, this guy's great. It's like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, like here's the other issue I always have with this, where people are like, well, the competition was low and he was great. What do you want him to do? Do you want him to be bad and then get drafted because he was bad there? Like he has no control of how good the defenses are in the ACC, or the ACC, the Pac-12. I'm already forgetting the Pac-12. It's over. It's already ended.
It's
in my
dead.
mind.
It's dead.
It's dead. Right? He has no control of that, and he has no control how good his weapons are. Right? He is playing with what he has. Right? So I've always found it unfair to judge guys like that, except in the cases of Ohio State, Alabama, these teams with next level
Perennial
unfair,
weapons.
with teams that you go, okay, like, is it really fair to judge that Mac Jones was a good wide receiver or a good quarterback at Alabama? He had 6 wide receivers that played in the NFL on that team. Or I don't know if it's 6, but it was like 4.
It was, I think it was 4 or 5, and you had a Heisman winner that was there.
Yeah. Like I don't think that'll listen to, right? Like that I go, yeah, that's an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
But to go like, oh, you give Bo Nix one NFL wide receiver at Oregon and the defenses are middle, and now all of a sudden he's great. Like, I don't know if we can judge him on that. I'm like, I would
I
argue it's more likely to judge him on that.
truthfully, I think the defenses you're playing against to me means more as a quarterback versus who you're throwing to, because I think the receiver talent is going to go up at the next level, right? When I get drafted, the receivers on my NFL team are going to be better than who I have in college, bar none, outside of like a Marvin Harrison or the Alabama locker rooms that you have. Whereas how well you can read and react to a defense translates at all levels, right? I see that at college. I could see that at the NFL level. So I don't know.
I'm gonna disagree with you and kind of agree with you at the same time. So there we have and it depends on the level of quarterback we're talking about, right? Like a Bo Nix, like let's like, to be fair, Bo Nix, I see him as more Tua-esque, right? Tua is a completely different quarterback when he has Tyreek Hill versus when he does not have Tyreek Hill, right?
I think he's a different quarterback with Mike McDaniels versus Brian Flores as well, too.
Brian Flores, right? Yeah, exactly. Like the coaching matters at the next level even more for guys like that. Whereas I think Trevor Lawrence still showed flashes of being successful, even with Urban Meyer, who was out on a Tuesday night, grinding on
groping women.
Yeah,
groping not his wife.
yeah, hanging out with women who are not his wife at a bar, right? Like there's certain levels of guys who are going to be successful no matter what. There's going to be guys like, Tua, Brock Purdy, who we've spent all this time talking about, guys who are going to be situationally based on how good they are. And that's the category I put Bo Nix on. Now, would I spend a first on a guy like that? Probably not.
I've had a little moment, and I'll meet you in the middle here, because I think for Bo Nix is going to be completely situational. I don't think he flops out completely at the NFL level. It depends on where he lands. Two spots that I think he works very well off the top of my head, where I'm like, yes, that makes sense. First, not going to happen. It's San Fran, because Purdy, they're not going to give up on Purdy enough to take Bo Nix at 31, 32, or whoever it is.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
The Los Angeles Rams, with an aging Matthew Stafford, an offensive genius Puka Nacua, and Cooper Kupp for another couple of years. The Rams land back in that 25 range. If they make the playoffs, you take Bo Nix at 25. That works to me, because Sean McVay can cover up what Bo Nix does not do well enough for that team to win, right?
Yeah.
I think he has to land in the right system. Bo Nix goes to Chicago. You better argue for that first fucking contract to be fully guaranteed, because you're not getting the second one, right? Like,
let me give you two examples in this mock draft that I really like. JJ McCarthy to the Raiders, right? A team with offensive talent, and I mean, who knows what that offensive staff looks like, but
I don't know. Yeah, their coaching staff is such a question mark, because I think the answer is easy, but Mark Davis does not like to make the easy. He likes to make it complicated.
Yeah. And that's in the second round. These are second round. And then it has Michael Penix Jr. going to the Vikings in the second round. Again, a spot where he gets a year to sit behind Kurt and get healthy and figure out how to play in the NFL. Like, I love that. Like, I think
is Kurt a free agent this year, or does he have a year left?
That's a great question. I want to say he's got a year left.
Still my most terrifying thing. Well, second most terrifying scenario for me as a Ravens fan this offseason is Kirk Cousins landing in Pittsburgh. I don't enjoy. As a fan of the Baltimore Ravens, I do not like that thought. The only thing that's worse is January Joe Flacco, the way he's currently playing, landing in Pittsburgh is a bigger nightmare to me. But
he's a free agent.
I'll tell you what, seeing the clips and the stats from this game that's happening against the Jets right now, the Browns and Jets on Thursday Night Football, I don't want to see Cleveland in the playoffs. I do not want to see January Joe Flacco in a Cleveland defense.
So we didn't get to it in the first part of the show. And it was something I was going to talk about. I said Ravens favorite in the AFC question mark. The only reason I had a question mark, the worst case scenario, is the Ravens play the Browns in the second round.
Shoot me.
And then Joe Flacco comes in and just smoke shows them. Like,
shoot
that is
me
like
in the head.
That is the one team. Like, if you look at that AFC playoff picture, we're just bouncing all over the place here. We've thrown structure out the window.
Who cares? We got a week to catch up on here.
If I look at the AFC, like, and I go, who's the most threatening team to Baltimore? I truly believe, I think it's Cleveland. Like
I think it is. And honestly, I think come Sunday, you can almost without a doubt say that and it be a fact because
yeah,
come Sunday night, there is a chance that every other contender in the AFC will be a team that they have beaten. They
yeah.
have beaten Jacksonville. They have a chance to beat Miami. They just whooped up like they have looked so well. They struggled and lost to Cleveland once already. Right? The
Here's
time that they stomped Cleveland, they had DTR out there. And then one shouldered Sean Watson pulled off one of the greatest second halves I've seen in my lifetime to beat him in the second game. I don't want to see Cleveland.
Yeah. Here's the only thing, like, there's a lot of hype around Miami. The only thing I don't love about Miami right now is the fact that they're going to have to go on the road and win a game. I just don't love that for them, right? Like, to me, if you're Miami, if they're having the 1 seed, it's an interesting conversation. I still think they're beatable, but I like it more. In the case scenario where they have to go beat somebody on the road, I don't. I can't imagine them go into Baltimore, in January and win
Not
that
gonna
game.
happen.
It's just not. Yeah, I just don't think that's a good case scenario for them.
There's two teams that rely on home field advantage more than any teams in the NFL, and there's one on each conference. It's the Miami Dolphins, the Dallas Cowboys are 10 times better at home than they are on the road anywhere. Dallas, it's just I don't know. It's a Jerry's World thing, I guess. There's not a lot to explain it. Miami is the way that they have that stadium constructed and, the temperature difference on each sideline, them wearing white jerseys, and also the fact that that team is not going to travel well to a Buffalo or a Baltimore or a Kansas City where it's going to be cold come January. So, yeah, those two, they need home field advantage more than anybody in the AFC, and they're not going to get it unless they beat Baltimore. And then I don't know what their chance at the 1 seed is, truthfully.
I think they have to win out.
They probably have to beat, they have to win out, and then we have to lose to Pittsburgh, which is a possibility, truthfully.
Yeah, they have to beat the Ravens and then the Bills.
So they have to win out, yeah.
Yeah, they have to win out, and then I think
that's it.
If they win out, I think they would hold the tiebreaker over Baltimore.
Yeah, because they would have us this week. It's gonna get real dicey real quick, folks. Tell you what.
Yeah, and they would hold the tiebreaker over. Yeah, head to head. Yep. Yeah. So that's interesting, right? And then you talk about like that game. Like Buffalo is going to be playing for their playoff spot. A lot of people thought that game was going to be for the division. I did, but I think it's going to be more for Buffalo trying to fight their way to stay on the inside here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I mean, they're kind of lucky that Houston has fallen off a little bit. And mainly because CJ Stroud has been banged up. But yeah, I mean, Buffalo is fighting for their playoffs lives. They have the Patriots, which is always a tough matchup for them. And then because they have to go, Patriots at home, and then they have to go to Miami. And to Miami is always weird for a team because of the weather there. So
yeah, and the last thing I'll toss in there, it's honestly best case scenario for the Bills is that the Dolphins win this week because, like at that point, Miami's playing for the 1 seed, but if they lose this week, well,
Miami's 11-5. I mean Buffalo to get the division. I think Buffalo would have to win out. Miami have to lose out.
Yeah. Who knows? It's going to be that. Teams can fluctuate from the 1 to the 6 seed this week. Like, we are still very fluid.
Yeah, it's going to get very interesting.
The Bears still have a chance at the playoffs, which is insane. There's a 1% chance. There's like 9 things that need to happen. But the Bears have a shot, and also the Browns still have a shot at the 1 seed. Percentage. Yeah. Mathematically speaking.
All right, we're going to jump into our bets now. We've rambled on for long enough. I kind of forgot about bets. Otherwise, I would have cut us off probably about 5 minutes ago. So
I was going to try to cut us off 10 minutes ago, but I was enjoying the conversation too much. So
it was good. If you or anyone you know is struggling with a gambling addiction, contact the Problem Gambling Helpline at 800-522-4700. Professionals are available 24 hours a day to take your call. Help is available at no cost to the problem gambler or they're concerned. Others, not going to spend a ton of time recapping games because it was 2 weeks ago now. So like, who cares? Basically, excuse me, I went 1-1-1. Gosh. I had a push for the Browns -3 versus the Bears, Texans +2.5 versus the Titans hit, Eagles -3.5 versus the Seahawks did not hit. That was the Drew Lock swagger game.
Yeah, it
How'd you do
was.
2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago, it was a rough week for me. I went 1-2. I cashed betting on my favorite team, Baltimore -3.5 versus Jacksonville. The Atlanta wagon fails us yet again as they put up an absolute stinker, losing 9-7 to the Carolina Panthers. And also, I had Dallas +1.5 on the road in Buffalo. We all know how that one went. Jesus Christ, Dallas cannot play away from home, and they definitely cannot play in the cold weather. So,
Yeah. So for the season, I'm at 20-24-1. Kind of a 500 below 500 round for me. Got to work really hard this the rest of this year to get back to 500. Man, if you've been riding with Owen all year, he's had a great year. 25-13-1. We'll
yeah.
take that any day of the week. Like, that's always, you love to be up. Like, you're more than
Being up
double
is
up.
fun, and I'm up a lot. I could go 0-3 the next 2 weeks and still be up.
Yeah,
So,
that's a good feeling as a gambler. It's also a bad feeling because it makes you feel like you actually know what you're talking about.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, I've come in feel real confident in those weeks that I had 2 weeks ago. Like, if we did a show last week, I would have felt real effing dumb sitting there talking about a 1-2 week.
Yeah. All right, I've got my first pick of the week is Packers +1.5 versus the Vikings. Man,
This is a
I don't
great
have any
pick.
water and I'm like drowning here. The Packers are still fighting for their playoff spot, so this game means a lot for them. Obviously, Minnesota is still in the playoff race as well. I just like the way that the Packers are right now more than I like the way Minnesota is.
Can I give you some extra beef for that pick there? Jaron
Sure,
Hall is also starting for the Vikings this week. The rookie, they're taking Nick
not Nick
Mullins
Mullins.
out. Yeah, and Dobbs is still out. So they're starting a rookie in Jaron Hall. Packers +1.5 should be about as free as money gets this weekend.
Yeah.
So
Bucks -2.5 versus the Saints. I like the Bucks to just finally put this away. I think it would put it to rest, and it would be Baker Mayfield saying, "Hey, I'm officially back. It's over." So
first quarterback of the 2018 draft class to make the playoffs in both brackets. So first guy to
boom.
make it in the AFC and the NFC. How about that?
And then I like the Pats and Bills over 40.5.
Really?
Yeah, it sounds weird, right?
It does, sounds really weird.
But Bailey Zappi has played well. Like, there's just
True.
like, as much as I hate to admit it, like, he looked serviceable against Denver. And I mean, he's played well, right? Like, that offense is starting to come alive finally. Who would have thought it took Bailey Zappi to come in? And then really what I'm predicting here is this game's going to be like 28-24.
Yeah.
Um,
I think
I think it's easy for this game to get over the 40 mark pretty quickly,
I
more
think
than you would think.
it's free money as long as you don't have another 3 pass attempt game. I think you're probably pretty set. So that's the asterisk on that one to me. All right. I have San Francisco -12.5 versus Washington. This one, obviously, I know double-digit lines. I'm betting on a 2-touchdown favorite. I cashed on a Vegas +12.5 versus Miami, I think, early on in the year. Washington has the worst pass defense in the NFL. San Fran is coming off of one of the worst games they've played all year. And Brock Purdy, statistically, his worst game of his career. They're looking for a bounce back. They're trying to make sure they can hold on to some, like, they need a statement win, right? They need to win out to try to have a shot at the 1 seed, right? So I'm not putting the win is pretty locked in at this point for them. They need to regain a little bit of confidence with 2 weeks left, especially if they're going to have to play in the wild card round. They need a statement game. I'm expecting 35 from San Fran alone, and I think their defense is going to be just as active on the other side of the field.
The only reason I didn't bet this, and this scares me a lot, whenever you have a West Coast team going all the way to the East Coast, and especially on a team on a shorter week, I don't always love that. That was the only thing that deterred me from this bet.
Yeah, that's fair. And honestly, I think if you're really feeling that confident in Washington, it's not a terrible pick to put them +12.5. I simply think you have the best defense in the league in the Niners. and then also against the
Yeah.
worst defense on the other side, they're gonna get up and down the field. I think they get enough to win this by 13. I have Seattle minus 3.5 versus Pittsburgh here. Mason Rudolph's playing. He had a good game last week, but Seattle is fighting for that playoff spot. They want to be the 6th seed or the 7th seed. They've got to win out to make it happen. The Rams aren't going away. The Packers aren't going away. They need a big win. I like this a lot more. If you can get Seattle minus 2.5, hammer it. I like that pick a lot. I think they can win this game by 3 points. Feels like one of those games where I'm going to lose because they win by a field goal, and I had them at 3.5.
Yeah.
But all in all, I like this pick. I think they can cover that line.
And again, this is a game. Seattle and Pittsburgh both still in the playoff hunt. I think Seattle's in as they sit right now.
Yeah, Pittsburgh's on the outside trying to get in.
So I expect Seattle to play a little bit more. There's more on the line for them. It matters a little bit more. So I like Seattle in this game.
Yeah. My last one. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised this one's not a little bit higher. I have Baltimore and Miami over 46.5. Now, again, we had this, I think it was 2-3 weeks ago, where I had a Baltimore and Miami over. And, we had that conversation. To me, these offenses are going to get up and down the field. This is what happens with these Ravens games against top contenders. It either happens with the Jags not the Jags. The Niners game, right? They got up and down the field. The Niners ended up getting up and down the field towards the end to kind of push the over. Or if they're able to come, like Miami's going to get theirs. That's what I'm betting on, truthfully, because I think Baltimore wins this game. I have faith in my team to go on the road and take down Miami on the road. I have no issues. I have confidence in my guys. I do not think that they're going to scheme up as good of a game plan against Miami. I think Miami's still going to be able to get their 21-28. And if I'm betting on Baltimore to win and Miami to score 4 touchdowns, this over is going to hit pretty handedly at that point, So just feels like I think one of those two offense pops for 30-35 by themselves, and I'm asking for a 5 point, or
I could
was
see
it 46? A 10 spot from the other side.
Yeah.
Do you see one of these teams only scoring single digits? No, then this should be a pretty easy hit. So,
yeah, I don't think either team, but it's also, man, Ravens defense is just tough. And
yeah, it's physical. This is, if there's ever been a test for Miami to prove it, because what is the one knock? They have had one knock all years. They cannot play a physical football team. Yeah. I don't know if anybody else watched Monday Night in Baltimore. There is no more physical team in the NFL than the Ravens right now. Yeah, so
I mean them and Cleveland, right?
Yeah,
like, those are physical teams. So
it is gut check time for Miami. And
it's going to be it's going to be a fun matchup, no doubt.
100%.
All right. Well, if you've made it into all the way through part 2, we greatly appreciate you. And thanks for being a loyal listener.
Yeah, 100%.
If you're still watching on YouTube, you're like the only people left. We had a little spurt on YouTube where, we got like 20 views and I was feeling good about the YouTube. And no one's watching on the YouTube. So we appreciate you if you're still on the YouTube.
Go check the YouTube out, guys.
If this episode comes out a little bit late, I'm on my laptop, my computer crapped out on me. Hopefully I can get that up and going for next week's episode, but it just might take a little bit longer on the laptop. But if you made it this far, we appreciate you. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.